my channel regularly, you know that I've been participating in the Year of the Ear Disney Ear Swap. And so we are going to go to Michael's to see if I can find some stuff that I have to get to make my September ears. I'm not going to say what they are because it will give away the theme and I'm not supposed to do that. But I'm looking for some stuff and see what we're going to find. So we didn't find all of the things I needed, so we're gonna run to...
Is it because all their stuff is Halloween stuff?
No. So we're going to run to Joann's and see if I can find some fabric that I need. So. So Joann's was a huge success, but it did take my children convincing me to stick to my original plan.
Lordy. She had like 7 different ideas going. I'm like,
I almost completely changed my plan and my kids said, "No, Mom, don't do that. What you were gonna do was good." So I figured it out. I got all the stuff. We're going with it. And oh my gosh, guys, all the fall stuff has me, so ready for fall, feeling all the fall feelings. All of them. So we also stopped at our favorite grocery store, which is Huckleberry's Natural Market, and picked up our absolute favorite lunch. We got baguettes and the absolute best potato soup on the planet, and because it doesn't have meat and stuff in it. And Emma loves these sesame cracker things. So we're gonna have some lunch and then I'm gonna chat books. So we had a lot of fun running around today and going to the craft stores so I could find this stuff to make my ears. And then we made an impromptu run up to our favorite grocery store. But now I wanted to sit down and chat about books with you guys, mostly because summer is starting to wind down, which means I'm starting to assemble my fall to be read list. And it has me kind of going back through some of my books. And so I thought it would be fun to share with you guys 6 books that I absolutely could not put down. These are books that I have read a couple of times. Some I read years ago and still tell people to this day that they are some of my favorites and I love them. Some are newer reads as of just 2019. But I wanted to share them with you. If you see me kind of looking off camera, it's because I am surrounded by my pets. My dog is right over there by the front door. And if she barks, it's because the mailman hasn't dropped off our packages that are being delivered today. And then my kitty cat is right over here. So I'm gonna drink of water really quick. Hi, Sita. Sita, what are you doing? Cat's watching me very intently. So I think I'm going to start with The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. I actually have 2 of Diane's books on my fall to be read list. No, I take that back. I think I have one on my fall to be read list, and then I put one of them on our book club list since we're doing the theme of mysteries. But anyway, 13 is about a reclusive author named Vida Winters, who for decades has been telling stories, outlandish stories about her history and her life. Now old and ailing, she sends a letter to a biographer, Margaret Lee, and tells this woman that she wants to finally tell the truth of her true story. Before coming to do an interview with her, Margaret actually reads one of Vida's books, entitled 13 Stories of Change and Desperation. But upon reading it, she realizes that there's only 12 tales, not 13, and she wonders where the 13th tale is. This book has everything. It is gothic strangeness to the key. It has ghosts, governesses, a topiary garden, and a huge secret. I loved this book. My only criticism of this book is that truthfully, I felt like it could have ended about 30 pages before it did. I kind of feel like it was wrapped up in almost too pretty of a bow for the kind of story that it was. But aside from that, I absolutely loved it, and I found myself second guessing the story the whole way through, constantly thinking I had it figured out, and then just when I thought I had it figured out, like something would come out of left field. So I 100% loved this and would recommend this book. Lay down, what are you doing? Yeah, just lay down. You're click-clacking all over the house. Hi. Is Mama doing something? Mm-hmm. This is what is going on behind me right now. The dog wants her ball, but the cat is sitting between her and the ball. And when it comes to the kitty cat, London is a little bit of a chicken. Moving on. Now she got her ball. I want to talk about one of my absolute favorite books of all time, and that is The Forgotten Garden by Kate Morton. You guys, not only do I love this book, but I love her as an author. I have all but one of her books, and I have loved them all. Oh my goodness. This book, as you see, I selected this book years ago for a book club reading, and I had only read one chapter the night before book club was supposed to be. And I was like, okay, well, I should sit down and read a little bit more since I'm the one who picked the book. And it wasn't because I didn't want to read. I had just been extremely busy. I read the rest of the book that night. That's how hooked I was and how great I thought the story was. It is a multi-generational mystery told from the view of 3 different women. Eliza, who was born in the late 1800s and writes the most bewitching and dark fairy tales that you kind of hear about throughout the book. Oh, yeah, I love Eliza's point of view. It's also told from the point of view of Nell, who was born in 1909, and then her granddaughter, Cassandra. After Nell dies, Cassandra kind of goes on a mission to kind of complete the story, trying to figure out Nell's life and where she came from. It's set in both Australia and England. And the premise of the story is that a family in a small coastal town conspires to conceive and carry a tremendous secret that will send shockwaves not only over oceans, but generations. It is an amazing story. And again, every time I thought I had it kind of figured out, something would change and it would just leave me guessing. Yeah, it is just a spellbinding tale of mystery and self-discovery, and the manor in it is called Blackhurst Manor. Hello. love this. The next two books on my list are actually from the same author, Hazel Gaynor, and we have The Lighthouse Keeper's Daughter and The Girl Who Came Home. So I will start with The Girl Who Came Home, which is actually inspired by true events. There was a town in Ireland, and the true story is inspired by the Abergule 14, which was a group of Irish immigrants all from the same village, all set sail on the RMS Titanic, and only 3 of them made it off of the Titanic and home. So this book, you know, of course, Hazel Gaynor has changed the characters and things, but this book is also kind of a dual point of view. It starts with Maggie Murphy, who is a 17-year-old girl who is leaving Ireland and her sweetheart Seamus because her mother has just died and her aunt Kathleen has sailed home from the United States to Ireland to take Maggie back to the United States and America and a new life with her. So it tells the story of Maggie's journey on the Titanic, and then of course afterwards she, you know, is devastated by what happened and doesn't want to tell the story until 1982 in Chicago. Her granddaughter interviews her and she tells her granddaughter Grace the story of what happened to her, and you know, that the story really kind of helps Grace figure out her own life that right now has kind of been thrown upside down. So this book had me crying and had me completely hooked. There are some quotes in this book that I was just completely blown away by. I actually have a leaf in here as a bookmark. One of my absolute favorite quotes from the book is some of the story is told from a viewpoint of Maggie's journal that she's writing while on the ship, and I just wanted to read this part to you guys because I absolutely love it. Titanic followed the coastline of Ireland for the rest of the afternoon, past the old head of Kinsale and on, following the cliffs and the mountains. We returned to our cabins now and again, coming back up to the deck occasionally to check whether land was still in sight. The sun was just beginning to dip in the sky as Titanic passed the final lighthouse. Aunt Kathleen told me it was known as Ireland's teardrop, and on account of it being the last sight of Ireland for those immigrating to America. I told her I thought that was a terrible and sad name. It is the right name, all the same, because I could not stop the tears then as Titanic turned to head across the ocean, and the last part of Ireland faded into the sea mist and was obscured from view. I don't know why, but that passage stuck with me, and I was crying. I think knowing the hope that this girl had for a new life in America, and also being torn by leaving her family, but also as the reader knowing what happens to the Titanic, you're just kind of, there's so much anticipation for how is this going to turn out for this girl. And so I cannot recommend this book more. I absolutely think you should read it. And then again from Miss Hazel Gaynor, and I have not only read this book, but I also listened to it on audio. And you guys, the audio for this book is amazing. The narrator does such an amazing job with all of the accents, and has you completely pulled into the characters and their stories and what's happening. Again, this is inspired by true events and the real person, Grace Darling, who was in fact a lighthouse keeper's daughter who did witness a shipwreck and was heroic enough to go out and risk her life to save the people that she saw in the water. So this story kind of follows her, but it's also told again in the dual narrative from the perspective of Grace in Northumberland, England, at Longstone Lighthouse in 1838, and then from the perspective of Tilda Emerson, who is a 19-year-old girl sent from her home in Ireland to a distant relative who lives in Newport, Rhode Island in 1938. And of course, you know, the two stories meld together and are part of one big, huge, beautiful connection. This book has some of the most beautiful writing. I was crying through so much of it because you get so invested with the characters, and not everything turns out okay for some of them. I 100% recommend reading, but I would also recommend listening to the audiobook because, again, like I said, the narrator is phenomenal. The next book on my list, Water for Elephants. I'm sure most of you have either seen the movie or read the book. I recommend only reading the book. I did not care for the movie at all, if I'm being 100% honest. But reading the book, again, couldn't put it down. I was so obsessed with this book and the storyline, and I love the main character of Jacob Jankowski. So the premise of this story is that recently orphaned Jacob hops a train, leaving behind veterinary school, and finds himself in the world of 1932's circus life. You know, he becomes a part of this very struggling circus during the Great Depression, who pops up in, you know, one town after another, and this very band of misfits and drifters and freaks. And he, you know, kind of falls in love with the elephant riding Marlena, who is unfortunately married to the very twisted and dark character of August. But he also has a deep love for Rosie, who is the elephant of the story. And the whole story is told from his perspective. So he's now an old man living in a nursing home, and he's retelling the story of the time that he was part of the circus. This story, again, was beautiful, and I loved it. It has characters that you just absolutely adore, characters that you hate. So this book is by Sarah Gruen, and if you have not read it, which I'm sure most of you probably have, I definitely recommend it if you haven't, though. Like I said, I was not a fan of the movie. I unfortunately think that the casting for the movie was not great. Let me know in the comments below if you agree or disagree with me on that. I know some people really enjoyed it. I did not. And the last book on my list is also a movie, and I have to say with this one, I did enjoy the movie. I still enjoyed the book more, but the movie adaptation I think was very good, and that is the Guernsey Literary Potato Peel Pie Society by Mary Ann Schaefer and Annie Barr. This is set on the island of Guernsey during the German occupation of the island during World War II. And the premise of this story is that an author named Juliet is, you know, in search of her next book. She lives in London in 1946 after it's just kind of coming out of the shadow of World War II. And she receives a letter from a gentleman who found her name in the copy of a book that he has, and so they start corresponding with each other, and after several correspondence with him and many other members of the society, she decides that she just has to see this island and meet these people. And the society came about kind of a spur-of-the-moment alibi when some of the members of the society are caught after curfew by a German soldier. And so they make up this potato peel pie society from getting in trouble with the German soldier. I absolutely loved all of the characters, and again, I think like most World War II stories, you're really drawn to the characters and want to know what has happened to them. A lot of the book is written in the form of letters, and so I know some people really don't like reading that particular style. I found it very easy to follow, and I liked getting the perspective of several of the members from the society. I found myself being very drawn to them and their quirky little personalities, and some of their very tragic stories. So again, I couldn't put this one down, and I 100% recommend it. As I was saying before, I did like the movie, so I would also recommend watching that. Let me know in the comments below if you agree with that, if you liked it or didn't like it, and if you liked the book or the movie better. So those are 6 books that I could not put down. I have so many books that I have loved, some that I just really did not enjoy, which I'm sure most of you have. And I just love chatting about books. So I will actually be chatting more about books coming up soon. I will be doing a bookshelf tour. I have this one behind me, and then I have 2 smaller ones in my living room as well. And that's actually a collaboration that I'm going to be doing with Amber. Her and I both decided to do that, and so that will be a lot of fun. And I actually have one of Amber's books right there, Dear Luna. And then pretty soon I'm going to chat with you guys about the books on my fall TBR list, and I cannot wait. Some of the books on my TBR list for fall have been on there, or have been books that I have wanted to read for such a long time, and I am going to do it. I have made a very big list, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that I can accomplish it. We do have 29 books that we are going to be reading aloud for school this year, so a lot of my reading time is going to be spent reading to my children. But I'm thinking that because I do that during the hour in which that we're doing history and science, I'm thinking I can probably still accomplish it. But I do have 17 books on my fall to be read list, and I'm starting at September 1st. So I'll be reading September, October, and November. So I'm hoping to get those 17 books done in that time, but more on that coming soon. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. It was kind of a hodgepodge day of all the things, all the crafting, all of the books, but it was a fun day, and I thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you haven't already done so, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you'll be told every time a new video is coming out, and give us a thumbs up if you like this video, and comment below what you think about all these books. Have you read them? Did you like them? Did you agree with me, or did you not? I know a lot of people who cannot stand some of the books that I read, so I would love to know what you think. Thanks for hanging out, guys. I'll chat with you later.